What is up, lighting amigos? I think there's like a little intro thing in there, but it was super quiet. Yeah. Captain Matt,
What up? Hey.
DJ Matt. What's up, Nate, the Illuminator?
Man. Oh yeah, how's everybody doing, man? I'm doing great.
It's been a week since I've seen you guys. All right. So, weekly time.
Lighting Trade School podcast. What?
So let's dive in, right? So lots of stuff going on in our world. If you guys are caught up, like Illuminati, the Lighting Trade School, we have the Illuminati Lounge Club. It's $47 a month. We have weekly Zoom calls, hour-long, ridiculous amount of photos and documents and info. If you guys haven't looked into that, you should. We're still giving a month away from free. I think it ends at the end of this month, and then the month away for free goes away. And then we also have some trainings coming up. So if you guys are interested in meeting us in person or going to some trainings, I mean, they're really practically for free. Captain Matt has one upstate New York in 2 weeks here. And then I have one in Dallas, Texas, really close to the DFW airport, easy to fly into, on April 24th and 5th. So these are more kind of beginner to intermediate level trainings. And Nate has an advanced seminar where he goes over a whole 5 days worth of information that if you really need to take your game to the next level, you need to be going to that. And that is April 14th through the 19th. Is that?
Yeah, April 14th through the 19th. And then there's one May 5th through the 9th, right? So it's Monday through Friday. Expect to work super, super hard. And I'll just say, if you want to take it to the next level, I think you should take it to the next level. We keep it in a very small, group, 6 to 8 people. So it's very, intimate, if you will. So we can make sure everybody has, a lot of one-on-one time and a lot of attention is given, but it's full of activities, nighttime activities. You'll get tired. So, we don't like to have whiners and criers come because we work really, really hard. But yeah, it's worth it. That's for sure. And it's cheap. It's $24.50. It's nothing.
I'd say we're heavy training. It feels like, which we've never done before. This is kind of a first for us, heavy training for the month of April and then in May. That's only because it ends, right? It's like busy season now. We're all loading up, lots of jobs. We're going to be busy with our individual businesses. But also in the summertime, well, I mean, for me in San Antonio or even Nate in California, it's just hot and miserable outside. It gets dark super late, so it's kind of hard to work on lights afterwards. So these will be the last trainings for a while. So jump on them, if you want to learn.
And where do they find out? Where do they find out about the seminar?
Oh, lightingtradeschool.com.
It's a good name for a website for a company called the Lighting Trade School. It's lightingtradeschool.com. Check it out today. Monday.
That was genius. Genius, whoever came up with that name. I don't even know who to credit for that. Maybe it was a collective thoughts. I want to say that was Matt, but I could be wrong.
Don't know. Doesn't
Maybe
matter.
It was me. Who knows? All right. Kind of diving into that, I think it's important. We made a document, based off this. Like if you're ever looking for a lighting coach, a lighting mentor, whether it's someone like us, we get a lot of our time away for free. Especially if you're in the Illuminati Lounge, it's $47 a month, which is ridiculous to even get, 2 minutes of time. We're all busy, but we made a document called 40 Questions You Should Be Asking Your Lighting Coach. So if you're looking or getting advice from a lighting coach, and that could come in like different shapes and sizes. It could be whoever you buy lights from is giving you design advice. It could be, Joe Schmo who does more lights than you, and you're asking him a lot of questions. Or it could be someone that you're paying $1,000 a month to really get one-on-one coaching. Well, there's 40 questions we craft that you should be asking them to make sure they really know what they're talking about. And if you think you know lights and you're that guy, well, then you should be able to answer these. So let's kind of go through them. We'll probably make a series out of this.
I'll say too, Shane, I think they should apply this to Facebook, when, we see it in Illuminati Lounge Club all the time, right? A guy will ask a question and he's got like 10 to 12 answers. And when you're taking advice from someone, why? What do they know what they're talking about, or are they just bored on Facebook? So these questions are great, and they're pretty in depth.
That may even be where one of the reasons we even created this. Poor new guy asked a question on something, you get 12 different answers from so-called experts, and you have no clue, who to listen to. So let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen here with you guys, and we'll go over the first, 5 or 6 of these 40 questions. There's no real rhyme or order to them. Share screen. All right, let me know if you guys see this just fine.
Yes, sir.
All right, I had to blow it up, so hopefully you guys can see it wherever you're watching from. But first question, no real reason this is first. This could be the 30th question. There's no real order for these as far as importance goes. But I'll ask you guys. I'll ask Matt, right? Because I already know Nate's answer, because Nate's the one who taught us how to use these. But do you use an amp probe and a voltmeter? For what? Why is that important for someone who's coaching someone on lighting to know the answer to that?
Yeah. So the obvious answer, what I'm going to say is yes, I use an amp probe. Yes, I use a voltmeter. And we do the critical 4. So we know the primary amps, primary volts, secondary amps, secondary volts. And what this does is why this is important right from the rip is it allows us to get the starting point of the system when we install it. So anytime we do maintenance or we come back for a problem, knowing what was there originally, then taking new readings, we can very quickly identify what's going on. Did we lose, are the watts down, or the amps up, or is the volt, 30 instead of 120 now on the primary side? Well, it can very quickly solve a maintenance problem, and it keeps us safe in terms of we're not overloading the power supply, or even overloading the each home run. And I will also say this about the amp probe. Great story. So Nate taught me how to use the amp probe, and we'd use it in his lighting garage. And I came home and I bought me an amp probe. Well, turns out this amp probe only read AC. So I kept reading. I'm like, damn, Nate's system, lifetime lighting, is freaking efficient as hell. I'm always at 0 amps. This is amazing. And then I put it on to, show them their AC magnetic transformer pulling like 8 amps. Put our transformer on the same line, 0. I'm like, it doesn't get more efficient than that. The problem is the amp probe didn't read DC. So make sure your amp probe and your voltmeter can read what your system is, because otherwise it'll all be a lie.
Like with everything, right? We learn, we fail, we learn, we fail. Bottom line, you are not a professional if you do not have an amp probe and a voltmeter, in your toolkit. This is impossible.
And use it, not just have it.
Yeah.
And know how to use it. It could be like a foreign language when you're new. And I hated using one because it was confusing and too electrical and technical for a dipshit like myself. But it took several times using it, to learn it. So,
but Shane, a dipshit millionaire. Don't forget that.
Dipshit millionaire.
Hey, so I got a couple comments, obviously, on the amp probe. So, if you consider yourself like a doctor of illuminology, just like a doctor in medical, you're not a doctor if you don't know how to use a stethoscope, right? Every doctor does, because that tells you the health of the patient. So for the health of the lighting system, not only, like Matt said, for maintenance and determining, what's happened from today till yesterday, the health of the system in the beginning. So you verify things, like Matt said, the critical 4. Well, you verify that in the beginning. Have you overamped everything? Is the wire safe? Do you have the right voltage? So it determines the health of the system in the beginning, that you can safely walk away from that system to make sure that everything is safe. Because everybody tells you that thank God for LED lighting versus halogen, because now you need to know nothing. That's what they tell you. You don't have to worry about voltage. You don't have to amp anything. Everything's wonderful. And the truth is, it's more dangerous today because things aren't protected as well as they should be as far as overcurrent. So other thing is, Matt had said that he did not buy a DC. So when you look at a amp probe or a voltmeter, it has to have a straight line, which would be DC, and then it has to have a wavy line, which would be AC for alternating current. So you got to make sure those things will be under the V, under the A, straight line and squiggly line, alternating current. And it must say RMS. It'll say true RMS on the face of the voltmeter or the amp probe. If it doesn't say true RMS, then you need to throw it away and buy one that says true RMS, because the false RMS one, it won't read the LED electronics. I had a guy call me the other day and he had an old meter, halogen days, no problem. So it has to say true RMS. Yep. So I always say, and these guys will tell you, you're not a lighting guy if you don't own an amp probe. You're just not.
I would say for the audience here, right? If you guys want Nate to make a video on exactly how to use an amp probe and a voltmeter, put a message in the comments, let us know, and we'll make a video specifically for that and put it here next week. Matt, were you going to add to anything or move to question number dose?
I say let's move on. Number
So,
2.
I got a couple things I do want to comment on. So an amp probe, you're going to spend a minimum of $100 on, and I like a Klein one. They're reasonable in number. Klein makes a good product line. I like the Klein $38 voltmeter. We can share the model numbers with you guys. I never use an amp probe for checking voltage ever, so I don't even have leads with me. And I use my voltmeter to check volts. I use my amp probe to check amps, because when you're checking volts, you are in the mud, you are in the dirt, you're throwing the voltmeter down on the ground, you're abusing it, right? It has rubber around it, protected, so it can take abuse. The amp probe is a very delicate machine. It has a clamp on it. The mud and dirt can get in the clamps. It cannot get a good right reading because the clamps aren't connecting properly. So I like to keep it out of the mud, in its jacket, in a tow tray, protecting it so I don't get a false reading. And then using the voltmeter. Now, the other thing about a voltmeter is you need to replace the 9-volt battery. I'm going to say every year on an anniversary, because you can get a false reading with a bad battery. So those are 2 tips that are super important. Make sure your health system is correct.
Yeah, I'd also say I really prefer alligator clips, which usually don't come with the Klein. I use Klein, but I just buy the alligator clips separately, so that I can just clip them onto the wire super easy instead of having to stand there and hold them.
Yeah, that's a good
I saw
tip.
that in your videos, Matt. That was actually pretty handy.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
That's good.
Now I'm going to give him another tip, Matt. Then you can outdo me on another tip, and then I'll
Okay.
Let's have a tip off. So I'm going to the handiest things besides what Matt had said earlier about going to see, verifying the health of the system. What is my amp read today versus yesterday? So if it used to be 5 amps yesterday, now it's 2 amps. I know I've lost 3 amps. I have a problem. Done deal. Now, how do I determine there is no as-built? I lost my superpower a while ago for X-ray vision, so I can't magically see where the wires are running, but I know I have wires at the power supply transformer and I have wires in the field. So what I do is I take disconnect, I take a wire at the transformer and I say, yep, it has 3.2 amps on it. I can go in the field and I can take my amp probe and I can start putting it on, right, where maybe I have a hub or a junction box or whatever, and I start looking for a point of connection, 3.2. So this one has 1.6, 2.1, 1.4. Oh, here's one with 3.2. That 3.2 will match up with the amperage of the transformer. Now I know that the wire goes from the transformer to the back 40, main garage area, whatever. So I can use it as a diagnostic tool as far as locating runs via amperage from starting point to end point, besides the determination of, obviously faults like you mentioned, Matt. So that's a really good tip for me that I use all the time.
All right, well, tip off. Here we go. I just posted a video the other day using the voltmeter. I had 2 lights that weren't working. I knew that I had 26.8 coming out of the home box, and disconnected those lights, and I had 13.2. So right there and then I knew there was an issue from the box to that wire. And then using the alligator clips, I was able to hook up a light. As soon as I hooked up the light, it went down to like 2 volts. So using the voltmeter, I'm able to determine where the issue is. I knew it wasn't with the lights or anything from the fixture on. I knew at that point that I knew it was going to be, moisture migration and wicking somewhere, a bad connection. But using the voltmeter allowed me to understand, okay, I'm good over here. I got 26.8 over here. I have 13.2 with no load. Then I found it was a bad connection, made the connection. Boom. I was 26.4 or 2 or whatever it was. So voltmeter using the field for fixes and maintenance.
Okay. Well, voltmeter is also handy to be used as a continuity tester. I can't tell you how many times I'm on a job and I need to verify continuity between certain items. We'll just say between wires. Is it a cut wire? Is it not a cut wire? So if it's a cut wire, I may or may not be able to determine a voltage, but continuity tester is super, super handy. So don't forget, always buy a voltmeter that has a continuity tester. Your
All
turn.
right. If you guys are going to do this tip-off thing on every question,
Shane, you got a tip. We're going to get through like 2 questions. I noticed, Shane, that you don't have any tips. So does that mean you don't use an amp probe or voltmeter?
Right. At this point, I think Shane's embarrassed because he hasn't added one valuable tip. Shane,
he's like, damn, those things sound cool.
I'm your host and I'm asking the questions here.
I just want to make sure that I outdo Matt in tips. That's my whole objective, right?
I think we beat it into the ground that there is no such thing as a professional who does not know how to use a voltmeter, at least on an intermediate scale. So if you ask someone this and they say no, or they squiggle around and don't know what they're talking about, that's your sign. Here's your sign, right? The Jeff Foxworthy thing. Those, older folks. Nate's kind of rednecky. He knows Jeff Foxworthy.
He's my neighbor. He's my neighbor.
So there's no way he was from California. All right.
Well, hey, there's a lot of rednecks in California. Okay, a lot.
Well, maybe not Jeff Foxworthy.
We're not all tree huggers out here in California.
So make an as-built. How and why? Now, I would probably say every coach, at least has a basic level of saying yes, to this. When you get into 100 light jobs, like I think this is amplified times 10, the importance of it, for your customer. I would also say, that I don't know really where I was going with that. But you want to see.
I already know you're the host.
Sorry, that was my train of thought. Hold that thought, Nate. And Nate, maybe you would agree with me here. But if you have not done hundreds of installs, for multiple years, you probably don't truly understand the importance of an as-built, which probably means you shouldn't be giving advice, or being a coach anyways. Because when you go back to a job and you did not have an as-built, and it takes you 5 hours to do something that should take you 45 minutes, you quickly learn to start doing it, every job thereafter. So I'll go back to you, Nate. Make an as-built. How? Why?
Let me jump in before he answers it, because you made a statement that I totally disagree with.
Oh, I was going to jump down that road too, Matt. You go. I was.
You said that anybody who's being a coach will have some sort of answer about an as-built, but we're talking about supply house guys and all that. We just had a conversation with someone who's been to at least 3 trainings of different manufacturers and different supply houses, and they didn't know what the term as-built was. They had no idea. When you say everyone has an answer, I think that's bullshit. I don't think they do. I don't think they recommend it. I don't even think they know what it's for.
No. Like everyone does have an answer. It might not be a good answer. What I want you as the listener to this podcast is to be able to differentiate yourself from what a good answer is and a crappy answer. Because we did just have this on a call, and everyone was telling us what they do before pre-install, not post-install, and everyone was getting it wrong. But if you and I might not have known, the answer to this, and they said, yes, do it this way. Well, if you didn't know any better, you might mistake that as an acceptable answer. So I want you guys to answer, well, what is the correct answer versus what someone might say?
Well, I agree with Matt. I believe if we talk to 100 guys, 90 of them won't know what an as-built is, because it's not a term that comes out of anybody's mouth in the landscape lighting industry. It's a term that comes from construction and documentation. Now, where I was going to disagree with you, Shane, is you started out 100 light job plus. I believe whether it's a 3 light job or a 10 light job, it's an obligation. Not only is it an obligation for the homeowner, you don't have x-ray vision, right, to be able to go out to a job site and know where your points of connection may have been, a centralized hub, many different things because the bark has covered them up. How did the wire get run? Right. It's very easy to lose your memory because you got so many other things to remember. So this is the thing that it allows you to be able to find things in the future. So when you're doing maintenance contracts or going back on a troubleshooting call, because things have stopped working for whatever reason, that you're allowed to be able to have a documentation that says this is where my product went. The other thing is it's nice for the homeowner, right? Because part of the as-built is not only do we document, the wire and where the location of the wire and the hubs are, it's a, thing for what lamps do I need to replace, right? Is it a 4 watt, a 5 watt, a 36 degree, 60 degree, 90 degree, 27K, 30K, right? What's my schedule of material, right? What's the model number of of the light fixture? Who's the manufacturer? So if I have an issue and you're out of business, you're in Hawaii and I got a big wedding coming up, I want to be able to service my system and be able to find replacement parts. So there are so many reasons why you need an as-built. And with that being said, Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can tell them some other things that we need in the as-built.
Well, I'm going to jump in to correct myself. I did not say it was not important to do it on small jobs. I said when you get to 100 light installs, it is 10 times more important because
I took that as it's 100% important on a 100 light job and only 10% important on a 10 light job.
I did too. I thought he basically said if it's not 100 lights, fuck it. Don't need it.
That's what I had too. So
no. Someone else mistook that. That is not at all the case.
I'm pretty sure I just got a text from 341 people that agreed with me. Nobody agreed with me. Nobody. Right here.
I also want to say, well, we're talking about 100 fixture jobs. Shay, most of the guys listen to us. They're not anywhere near 100 fixture jobs, unless a few here and there. So, guys, even on a 20 fixture job is super important. That one I was just talking about with the voltmeter, that was like 22 fixtures. Without an as-built, it would have taken a lot longer to find out, hey, I know I lost voltage. Well, this was way out into a tree in the front yard. Thankfully, I knew where the wire was. If not, I'd have been digging up the yard. So that was 22 fixtures. So, guys, super important. Obviously, what Shane's saying, right, it exasperates it, right? When you have a spaghetti of wires everywhere. But it's important no matter what the size. It's not the size that matters.
This has nothing to do with anything, but somehow earlier in the beginning of the podcast, I must have hit a record button. I have recorded everything on my iPhone right here, and I accidentally just texted it to my top guy, Ray. So he's probably going to get this text.
Oh, God.
What the hell?
Poor Ray.
You just paid him $50 an hour to read that long text.
What the hell am I doing here? Now he's going to be calling me. What is this shit?
All right. So I think the important is an as-built. So definition, right? This is post-install. Where is your transformer plugged in? What kind of timer did you use? What kind of watts, did you put load on the system? What kind of watts, are your lamps? Where's your wire? Where's your trench line? Where's your connections? Those are all really important just to include an as-built. It could be really simple, on a 20 light job. It could just be a picture drawn on your phone. It could be a quick 30-second video, showing where the transformer is, and then record your critical 4, of course, that we already mentioned. So, I think when you get into the bigger installs, you kind of compartmentalize it or phase it, and you go per. What I do at least is go per transformer. This transformer has 25 fixtures on it. Here's the load, here's the wiring, and I'll break it down, that way. Do you guys have any other tips or anything to add or correct me on everything I said?
Well, no, I think as-builts are super important. I lost most of mine from, I think we talked about this before, a previous employee who, went to shit with everything. So, but I just saw the other day I was actually doing maintenance at my own property, and my moonlights weren't working on the front yard trees, and knew where the junction box was. I knew I had cut wire somewhere. Well, it turns out I didn't even have a cut wire. There was connections in the field, which just means connections in the grass. I had no idea where this wire was. Talking about spaghetti. I've got a ton of wires in my yard because I have each one run independently for each thing. And then I literally pulled out probably 100 feet of wire out of the earth to try to find the problem. Until finally I found the guys, because it was my house, right? They didn't use the proper connections, they didn't use any grease. So if I had an as-built, and I knew that they had to put a connection in the field and they couldn't use a junction box for whatever reason, I would know that would be the second place I would have checked for sure. So super important.
I got a couple comments. First of all, Shane, your comment about do we disagree with you? We don't have enough time in this podcast to disagree. I say that in fairness to the audience. So I think, for me, if you guys want to write this down, I think, obviously what Shane said, he gave you some of the details of what it are. So for me, there's like 6 or 7 documents in an as-built. First of all, there's a transformer schedule, power driver schedule that's going to list all the runs with the amperages on each run, the transformer size, the manufacturer, direct burial, whatever, AC, DC, certain things on the direct burial or on the transformer schedule. There's a fixture schedule. Tells you what type of the fixture is, the manufacturer, and what's 12 volt, 24 volt, Kelvin temperature, wattage, beam spread. Very good for the homeowner, very good for you because you can't remember a lot of things. There is a fixture placement schedule a lot of times because maybe you've got moonlights in a tree like Matt just mentioned. And how can you remember if your guys are going out there, they can't even see the goddamn lights are in the tree. They're invisible. So if you don't have a schedule, you don't know they're in the tree. There's a line diagram, which gets back real quick to what Shane had said about where's the GFI location, where's the circuit breaker located. It's in a sub panel in the garage or in the basement, and it's circuit number 32, which feeds the GFI, and the GFI feeds the plug on the outside where the transformer is located on the outside of the garage. Future considerations for growth rates on trees and different things, cost of electricity, and then of course, the wiring schematic, where hubs are and where the wire goes. Okay. And in particular, if you've ever added speakers, you got to draw speaker wires on that as-built. So if you're out there and you're thinking you see landscape wire because everybody uses the same color, which is stupid on the surface. But if you're using black wire, you got black wire for low voltage lighting, black wire for speaker wire, you're going to cut into the speaker wire. You're going to fuck everything up. That's a fact. Seen it hundreds of times. So you would always differentiate we use, say, whatever, black for, speakers and red for landscape lighting, whatever it is, which is why I just, promote landscape, lifetime lighting, if you would. We use brown and tan for landscape lighting, and then we use black and brown for speaker wire. So you'll never make those common mistakes. Okay, so those are my comments.
All right, good words. Next, you ask a coach, do you demo as part of the sales process? Why or why not? Now, I know for sure there's people out there that do not demo, or they only demo if they need to close the sale. And it's probably because their demo process is super complicated and they use wires versus batteries, and it's just a pain in the butt to do. But demoing as part of the sales process, if you guys have listened to any of our videos, we probably touch on that. It is the most important part in the sales process, to nail down. And why is that the most important part? Well, there's several reasons. I'll let you guys kind of pitch in and answer it. The number one reason is you're going to sell more fixtures every day, all day. I mean, that is the easiest and most simplest answer. There's more reasons than that. So
yeah,
since your answers are shorter than Nate's.
Yeah, I'll say this. So there is definitely different schools of thought. I mean, even between you and I, Shane, right? I demo before the sale, you demo after the sale. But there is, and this is where what's right and what's wrong. There are some people who teach, train, educate that just go get the sale, $4,500, $5,000. You can get it during the day. And a lot of guys are fine with that business model, right? They're not really offering maintenance. Most of these guys are just trying to make a sale every couple of days, 5,000, 4,000, 5,000, and they're just doing daytime walkthroughs. They don't go back at night. They don't offer more lights or anything. So that is a business model, and I know it works for a lot of guys, right? They're out there putting in all this work to get those, smaller jobs. Whereas when you demo, you know, really you can only do that at night. Most guys don't want to work at night. Most of the lighting guys, for whatever reason, are like side hustlers, right? They got 15 other services they're doing. They don't truly believe that lighting is a real thing that they can do. It's just maybe some beer money at the end of the week. But when you demo, like you're focusing, you're going to change. Like, okay, I'm not looking for, $4,000. I'm targeting bigger and providing more value to each and every client. So even if I spend the same amount of time with that client, I'm going to get a $16,000 job versus a $4,000 job. It takes more time. You got to go out at night. But those are definitely different schools of thoughts. For me, of course, I demo because you always sell more. And lighting is such a hard thing because when you compare it to everything, when they drive down the block, when they get my proposal, if they haven't done a demo, they're going to compare it to what they know, which 100% is not what I do.
Okay. So I think, Matt, that was very good. So that's the monetary value, right? For you independently, which is obviously self-serving, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're out there to make money. So I would rather sell a $16,000 job, put $8,000 in my pocket, than sell a $4,000 job and put $2,000 in my pocket. I'm going to go the other side of it. I think we have an obligation as a lighting guy to be able to show the homeowner what their property deserves and how they can have maximum usability out of their space, because there's no words in the English language that I can articulate that to the homeowner. So I believe I have an obligation to show the homeowner how their property, how their home, right, barbecue, destination areas, how they can see it in a whole new light so they can maximize it. Because I always say that outdoor lighting is the cheapest thing that the homeowner is going to do to maximize the usage of their property. Because without light, you're not going to see it. Without light, there's no usability of space. Without light, right, it's non-existent. So as a top lighting guy and as maybe a beginning lighting guy, you have an obligation to that homeowner. So I think that if you are trying to do it words only, you're doing the homeowner a disservice, right? Besides costing yourself money. So,
Yeah.
and unless you are that, I can do it. I mean, I'm going to give everybody a couple wins here. So on Monday, which is 2 days ago, right? I mean, I've been doing lighting than probably anybody that's listening to this podcast. I still do demos. So the contractor called me up, and right here in my local area, and a guy owned a couple Chick-fil-A's. One of the unique guys that, it's not just a corporate owned stone. I don't know how he finagled that deal because most Chick-fil-A's are corporate owned. But anyway, nice house. Guy has the money, and he had pre-sold about 100 lights. That was the number. Well, turned into 265 lights. Would I've been able to add 165 lights without a demo? Fuck no, right? Not even me. It's the demo that does the fucking lighting. It converts selling into buying. It's a conversion tool, right? 2 weeks ago, we go to a job, and what we always say, off topic a little bit, but it's point on. When it doesn't matter if you're a new guy, but we always preach to the new guys: go out and do 10 jobs for free. Go do your buddies. Go do whatever. Go demo. Don't even sell the job. Go demo. Use it as a learning tool. So we go up to a job. The homeowner's doing it as a favor to the contractor that it's just learning landscape lighting. Well, what do you know? We demo it, put 85 lights out. We sold a 164 light job to a homeowner that wasn't even interested in buying lights, was doing it as a favor, sold 164 lights. That's why you fucking demo. It converts selling into buying. It's powerful.
These are recent stories. I guarantee you one of us has a cool story like that every single week.
Right. That's right. Yep.
And I like both of those scenarios. I'll also say, just as part of a closing tool, right? It's our process, really, whether it's a $5,000 job or a $50,000 job. Now, I dislike doing demos on $5,000 jobs. It's just, oh man, we got to go out there. But I send my guy out there to do those anyways. So, but if my point is if we're comparing two quotes, I'm a customer and I had 2 or 3 quotes, and I'm $6,000 and the other guy is $5,400. I'm 10% more. We're generally more expensive. But in our proposal, we talk about, everything that we build value on. And one of those things is we go out and we do a demo prior to making everything permanent. You can see everything. You can change stuff around. We can subtract fixtures. We can add fixtures, etc. before we make everything permanent. And then we come back at night, we do a time adjustment, we take pictures, we give high fives. Now, just that alone adds so much more value. The customer realizes, okay, this company is worth a little bit more. So I guarantee you we close more sales if we're the ones doing a demo and the other guy's not doing a demo, and everything's apples to apples.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense.
Okay.
What is
Yeah.
it, custom?
Well, it makes 100% sense. And the other thing, when you say, what does that mean? Add value. So I'm going to tell you some things I know it means, and we could definitely talk all day on this. Everybody sits there, and I believe 99% of the people in the United States, right, have it wrong. And I'm talking to you guys listening to this podcast. You have it wrong. Anybody, my 4-year-old granddaughter could go do landscape lighting when it comes to the thought process of how it is, right? Which is the whole purpose of, right, these 40 questions here that we're just going over a couple. They just tell you to go stick a light in the ground and light up a tree. No thought to why you would backlight it, why you side light it. No thought to anything. So when you're out there doing a demo, it's very easy to get the homeowner involved, maybe in the process or at the end of when the demo's set up. There's a lot of thought to landscape lighting. I have to listen to so many people try to sit there and tell you anybody can do landscape lighting. Fuck you, bullshit. Right? To do proper landscape lighting takes a lot of fucking right thought behind it, because one of the key things is, does anybody even know what landscape lighting even does or lighting does? I'm going to tell you, no, they don't. They don't know how to reflects and reacts and transmits and does certain things. So when you understand that, there's a lot of thought in a proper design to provide a lighting composition, which is very which you have balance and you have structure and you have depth and you have certain things with an intended purpose. So the process of the demo to add that value, I will never lose a job to anybody when I do a demo because of my value added to the homeowner, because they understand why it takes 264 lights, not 100, right? And if I don't create vast separation, are you kidding me? How could I sell 164 more lights, without creating beyond value, beyond separation? So it is beyond important to be able to sit there and solidify to me and give trust to the homeowner that I'm a lighting designer, that I do lighting compositions, lighting portraits, instead of a landscaper hack sticking a light in front of every tree. So
Yeah.
that's
When
reality. And really wake up if you don't believe that.
when I highlight the next question, that's like me playing the music when you're giving this.
Oh, here.
That means you wrap it up in 3 seconds. We're moving on to the next question.
Let's go. Let's do one more question. I knew we weren't going to get through 6.
All right, one more question. So, and I think just kind of ending on this question, this answer is in direct, correlation to their answer to number 3. What is your average fixture count on installs? What's going to be a lot lower if you answered no to number 3, for sure. Now, I think if you're looking for a coach and they say, their average fixture count install is, anywhere what is average, which I would say 10 to 20 fixtures is probably like in that average range. If you're a coach and you're not well above the average, but maybe you should consider someone who is well above the average.
Yeah, I would say
a fair statement.
Yeah, I'd say that this answer tells you a lot about how they treat design and if they know design. Because if the guy you're taking advice from is saying, yeah, I just need 10 lights, just need 20 lights, that's what most people, that's all they need. Well, it tells me they've never really focused on design, or maybe they didn't have the sales techniques to close the good designs that they knew. So they've kind of given up on trying to give the client what they wanted. Instead, just do that hard sale day right there, get your money. That's what that answer does. It's not about dick measuring contests where Nate says, well, I do only, my smallest job's 100 and this guy's 20 and this guy's 40. It's not about that. It gives you an insight into what their mind is for how they operate the business and how they treat design when it comes to landscape lighting.
Yeah, I would say you could still make a lot of money doing 10 to 20 fixture installs all day, every day. And they probably know something that you don't. But it doesn't mean I would hire them to be my coach.
Unless that's a business model, right? It's the same guy doesn't demo. That is a business model, and it works for some guys. But if you're hiring a lighting coach, or you're always asking for advice at the supply house and everything, and this is what you're doing serious, decide on the path. Don't be mixed where you're trying to do badass jobs and everyman jobs where you're doing 10 lights a day. Like, decide where you want to go, and then hire and take advice from the person that represents where you want your business to be.
It's true. There's a guy in Nashville that I know. He has his marketing on point, and he does quotes over the phone, sight unseen, different area, does a lot of new builds, little landscape. And that's his market, 10 fixture jobs, $2,500 to $4,000 jobs. And they just do those every day. He doesn't demo. He doesn't go on site to quote. He quotes from a computer.
Yeah.
That works for him, but he is not a designer, for sure. So I don't know, Nate, anything to add before we just kind of wrap?
Well, yeah, I think, kind of expanding maybe about, what Matt said a little bit, if your business model is, get in and get out, do an average job, 20 lights a day, do one job a day, God bless you. That's your business model. Nobody can ever fault that business model, ever, ever, ever. I take the opposite approach, right? I would rather do 100 light jobs than 520 light jobs as a business model. And I'm going to make more money. I'm going to not have so much wasted time. So my whole thing in life, and, if you just want to do a 20 light job, you don't need me. You want to make millions of dollars in landscape lighting, I'm your guy, right? Or all three of us are your guy, right? We're going to help get you from here to there. I like to say that if you want to get from, Matt's in New York, I'm in California. Well, if Matt wants to, come to see me in San Diego, he can fuck around, get in a car, ride a motorcycle, get on a train. He could take a month, 2 months to get here. You want to get here today to see me so we can have cocktails tonight? Get on a fucking jet plane. I'm the jet plane, right? We can get you from here to there fast if you want to make money in outdoor lighting, and we're here to help you with that. That's one of our goals. So actually, speaking of one of our goals, right, we have room for a limited number of people that we're going to train to be lighting assassins to make you lighting millionaires. So if you guys want to make fucking millions in outdoor lighting, contact us. We'll get you there.
Yeah, we're only looking for what, 50-ish guys, 50 guys, badass guys who want to stop side hustling, stop doing 17 different services, and make $1 million or more on lighting and just live the lighting life.
Yeah, well, as Shane would say, right? We're all what do you say, Shane? We're slumdog millionaires. What do you say? We're
dipshit millionaires.
Dipshit millionaires. There you go. Right?
Yeah. If you're not the smartest guy in the room, but you've got some hustle to you and you want to learn, well, we can definitely get you that millionaire status.
Yeah. And some people will tell you, which is sickening and makes me almost throw up. You want to double your income? Raise your price. No shit. Whoever tells you that's stupid logic, you should fire them on the spot. Right? Make more money, raise your price. Wow. Good thinking.
Well, yeah. Elevate your skills, elevate your design, elevate your value add.
Right. Then 100%.
Sure, oh man, I actually like that, Nate. I think everyone, even these guys who do one light a tree, should up their prices, because every time they up theirs, I get to up mine. So up and away, boys.
Up and take it.
Just 50 guys. Well said. Just to kind of hit on that, I do not want to talk to hundreds of guys. That's not our goal in here. I think our goal when we're looking for guys who want to be lighting assassins is kind of like our goals for jobs, right? Like we're hunting for bigger jobs, stuff that we can really flex our design skills on, stuff that gives us energy. I don't want to mess around with hundreds of guys. We all got our own business. We're all busy. Yeah, if you guys want to be one of those 50 guys that, just kind of comes in the inner circle, hit us up. So I want to be one of your 50.
Let me touch on that, right? Our sponsor, Lifetime Lighting, like we said it before, I'll say it again. Like our goal is for those 50 badass guys is to buy Lifetime Lighting products, because that's the only way we have any benefit besides, spreading light and joy to the world. We want to make money. So if we make sure that you're selling 5,000 fixtures a year and buying them from Lifetime Lighting Systems, that's how we win. So we only win if you win. It's not like you have to pay us, thousands upon thousands of dollars a month or a year. Like, we'll put our money where our mouth is. If you buy our product, we'll help you double your business, whatever size that is right now. Like, that's where we're at. That's how confident we are in what we're doing.
Yeah, and let me say that too and I think this is important, right? And obviously I went out Lifetime Lighting, so obviously I'm going to plug myself here, but I think that if you go do your research, which you should find out who I am. I am really the only lighting company that has really installed product. You're going to read everybody's bullshit on their website. probably all AI. Oh, we've innovated this. Oh, we've innovated that. Oh, we did this. Yeah, bullshit, right? I have the most innovative product line, which you can clearly see that was designed for. It was a solution driven product line. So when I'm a lighting designer, because that's really what I am as a lighting designer, I have to make a product to be able to go into certain applications to perform different things, what mounting and how to put it in a trick situation and how it to be able to solve everything. Everybody else's bottles of ketchup. Most of them fly to China, they relabel, and it's nothing, right? So when you want to become and separate yourself, and that's what we teach you to become a lighting designer, because that's where the money's at. That's value given to the homeowner, be able to do a 265 light job and do it accurately. I have to have the product line to back up my design. So when I owned and sold my last company, Unique Lighting, which a lot of people will know, that was a very generic line too, right? It was made in China, right? Kind of generic. A lot of people have copied it. Now my product is U.S. born, U.S. made, very innovative, and allows us to do things I could never do before. So super proud, and that's how we do turn 100 light job into 265 product
That's
too.
what we do.
Hell yeah.
All right, lighting world, lighting peeps. Catch you on the flippity flop.
Lightingtradeschool.com. Oh, wait. Bye, guys.
All right, I got to leave.